Well, with me on the set is none other than Tweheyo, the Secretary General of the Uganda National Teachers Union. Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome, sir.
Well, a lot has been going on. Last week, we saw teachers concede to government pressure. So it will pick your tools and you had to walk back to classes. But of course, this has come with a lot of some criticisms from the public, saying that teachers have accepted to be taken for a ride always. What do you make of this acceptance?
When you are going for industrial action, or a strike, to use a better word which people would like to hear, there are 2 or 3 things you must realize. Number one, you must know it is a give and take. It is a win-win situation, but it can also be a win-lose situation. Number 2, when you are going for this industrial action, you must also know the players. Who are the players? The player number 1 is yourself. The player number 2 is government, the employer who you are negotiating with. The player number 3 is the child, who is paying the price. So when now you go into the rough play, the payer of the price for the rough play is not the leg of the players, it is the shoe, which in this case is the child.
But this is
they are also parents.
This is the third time, Mr. Tweheyo.
Yes.
You are relenting.
Yes.
Do you think that government is taking you very serious?
I wouldn't want to say for sure that we have relented. We have halted in the first place. Because, as you know, we didn't call off the strike. We suspended the strike.
You are back
Suspending the strike means, yes, we are giving room for negotiations and implementation.
For how long have you given room for negotiation? Because I know every time you go on strike, there is some room for negotiation.
Yes, yes.
Government sometimes concedes, but when it comes to the implementation part of it, again, you are left in the cold.
There are indicators and pointers. Let me give you an example. We said there are 3 things government must do. Number 1, to accept and sign an agreement that this money will be paid, which they did. That's point number 1, indicator number 1. Number 2, that the money for the teachers' circle, which had been taken forcefully by the Ministry of Education to microfinance, is going to be withdrawn and returned. After how long? It had 2 benchmarks. Number 1, the first amounts that had not been released to Microfinance Support Center, amounting to almost 2 billion, is going to be drawn not later than 30th. Today is 1st. 29 days to go. We shall see. After 30th, then the remaining amounts, almost equivalent 7.8 billion, will be drawn and returned to the teachers' circles within a period of another 3 months, by the end of 30th September. That's another benchmark. You see, once you are to test somebody's commitment, you won't say, now you must show the commitment for everything. There could be indicators that people have already broken the promise in one or another, or they have ever broken the promise. But you must also be able to develop and negotiate on utmost good faith and build the confidence that you'll get it done.
What's new that you did this time round that you did not do in the second phase of your sit-down strike when you did it around last year?
Majorly now, we included technically the very people who make the budget and the very people who execute it. We included the budget team from Ministry of Finance. We included the Treasury team from Ministry of Finance. These are the people who execute, who prepare the budget, although it is, of course, sent by other centers. These are the people who execute the budget by releasing it to other centers. And therefore, I think technically, that was one of the great things we had to include to make sure that in future, the ministry would never say, for us we submitted, Ministry of Finance never did this.
But you know for a fact that President Museveni avoided meeting you.
Absolutely.
After
if you were the one,
if you
were the one after making such a pledge, would you have the eyes to face the same people you have pledged to once, twice, 3 times, and you don't fulfill?
Then how sure are you that Muhakanizi will pay that money without?
Yeah, he made consultations with the president. And by the way, our meetings were very, very challenging because we had to break for 3 times. Forget about the meeting with the Prime Minister, the meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister, but the meeting with these technical teams. They had to break 3 times. The first time we said, go and look at ABCD. 1, we want 5% this financial year. 2, we want 15% the next financial year. 3, all these other terms. And 4, which was the most important, we want to make sure that the quality of learning is improved. And there are also issues that improve the quality of learning. One of them is the teacher-pupil ratio. The second one is the pupil sitting facility ratio. The other one is the pupil textbook ratio. All those, we needed to look at them. And by the way, most people think our concern is on our money salary. No. Motivation for a teacher is not about the money. You may be given a lot of money, but when the conditions are impossible, you will not deliver.
You seem to have negotiated hot air, or government seem to have given you hot air, because are you aware that what you were demanding for was never captured in the Ministry of Education policy statement budget for this for the financial year 2015-2016?
For the financial year 20, which one was not captured?
Your demands.
No.
The latest demands that you stated.
The demand was the teachers' circle. The fund was not captured. It is in the budget, even in the policy statement. The demand was the increment of 15% the next financial year, which is not this. And I wouldn't have expected it to be part of the policy statement for 2015-2016. The other demand is on the quality issues.
Well, the government is going to tell you, Mr. Tweheyo, that we run a cash budget.
Yeah.
What we have budgeted for and what we have presented before Parliament is what we execute.
Correct.
And you know the man whom you sat with, Keith Muhakanizi, is doing away with the financial indiscipline of supplementary budgets.
Correct. We are not looking at supplementary budgets. We are looking at the execution of the education budget to the letter of what is available. Let me give you an example. We are saying the child, the school grants should be increased from the 7,000 to 10,000. That one is captured. And we are also saying this money must be released. You know, there have been 2 issues. The money itself, but also the releases. Were they reaching? Were they reaching in time? It is not a question of the amounts. It's a question of when and how they are released. And that's what we're insisting on.
But
we
also,
are talking,
as we
for
are looking
example,
at the question of a teacher
yeah,
being well, being in position to meet her daily demands,
yes,
challenges of her that play in his life. And you seem to talk on a broader perspective. You are not addressing the aspect.
We have to be broad because the teachers' issues are not only salary. We are saying, yes, for example, look at the salary. Do you know that the salary is the only consolidated monies, emoluments the teacher gets? It is the same thing that you use for break, it's the same thing that you use for your lunch, the same thing you use for transport, the same thing you use for rent, the same thing you use for preparation even.
Which is not enough.
Which is not enough. I agree with you, it's not enough.
What is holding your hands tied to do it the Kenyan way? Unless government does this, we are not walking to classes.
We are moving forward with organizing. Let me tell you, first of all, let me look at our instruction. There were some few challenges here and there. The private schools had not come in to give support. Do you know that we are moving forward quickly now, recruiting the private schools? And let me assure you, your child may be going to a private school. The next industrial action, even for them, they will not reach there. I can assure you. We are organizing. So as we move forward, we continue putting on also our house in order to make sure that the next action we take will be so precise to the extent that even those people, policy makers, who are thinking that for them they are comfortable, they'll be taken for a surprise.
Now, what do you make of hot air given to you by the Prime Minister, Uganda, coming? I may not say that was hot air because he spoke out what he knows from the Treasury or from the appointing authority. Comes and tells you, guys, you know what? There is no money. We're not ready to, government is not ready to increase your money as your salaries as planned, the 10%.
I want first of all to cut you short.
Here comes...
it is not a question of saying there is no money,
listen,
by the way.
Listen, then here comes old man Muganwa Kajura, the second deputy premier, tells you the same statement that is not different from what the premier said. And here he's the fountain of honor, who made the previous empty promise, is avoiding to meet you. What do you make of that?
In negotiations,
can Muhakanizi stand next financial year to defend the words that he told you?
In the negotiations, and that is possibly where you have been going wrong, to run to the president to give directives when the technocrats who should have executed those directives are not involved. So this time around we said, it is not necessary to go to the president because he made the president finished. Let's now tackle the technocrats. So that subsequently, we know also the easy target which we shall get. When things go wrong, we shall get them right.
But you know this is a banana republic whereby Minister of Finance, technocrats that means of finance sometimes do not take decisions without the fountain of honor.
It may appear banana, yes. But let me tell you one thing, and by the way, I was coming to the same thing to tell you that it is not a question of lack of money. Because if it was lack of money, they wouldn't have increased the number of constituencies, they wouldn't have increased the amounts and emoluments for the MPs. So it looks there is some element of grabbing. I must mention that. The MPs, most of who I can guarantee will not come back, are grabbing to take the biggest they can take in the shortest possible time, but also with intentions of being able to increase their gratuity.
Do you think that there is political will from government to meet the 10%?
The political will not be there and cannot be there unless we generate enough pressure to make sure that it is there. Let me tell you, in the politics world over, unless you matter and you can endanger the position or the benefit of those in position, you will not get what you want. Even world over, most budgets are geared towards security, geared towards government, better, what they call better priorities in the government. But unless we pose a danger, unless we pose a threat to the benefit of those who are on the plate, on the serving table, then it would be very difficult. And that's why I'm telling you, we have to organize.
Whom are you going to put in the line of fire if your pledges are not fulfilled the next financial year?
We are going to put both the president and his technical team.
But this time round, he was not at the center.
Why not? He doesn't have to be at the center, even if he's at the periphery. We had to get his commitment to get it done.
But he told you his mind while in a Kanungo,
yes, when he was on the Labor Day.
On the Labor Day.
Yes.
He told you his mind and what he thinks about increment of teacher's salary and other government
civil servants, yes.
Civil servants. He told you that
yeah.
He's not ready to make any increment
we got it.
Unless he deals with the issue of infrastructure.
These are two statements from the same person, that he's not ready to get it done this year, but is willing to make it the next financial year. And I want to make this statement categorically clear. The president, as a man, should be ready to stand by his word. Like he stood by his word that he's not willing to pay or able to pay this financial year, he should equally stand by his word that he will be in position to pay the next financial year.
Why they are called fountains of honor in such a banana republics, that they are given powers that he can even order money to exit Bank of Uganda coffers without the approval of Parliament.
If it was not right for him to do that, and he executes using his powers, and it gets back to Parliament.
In the Constitution.
Yes. So if it is enshrined in the Constitution, then he has the powers to do that.
That's why I'm telling you that you cannot underestimate his words.
Absolutely.
Because given the fact, if you see the budget allocations for this financial year, for Ministry of Works, Energy, compared to the education sector, the agriculture sector, it tells you that the man, what he told guys during Labor Day,
it came to pass. It is true.
It's bound to happen. You cannot differentiate President Museveni as an individual from the office of the president.
This
is a person
and we should.
This is a person who is voted.
Let me give you another example.
By Uganda.
We should not say it is the minister, Matia Kasaija. It is the Minister of Finance. When we were having all these pledges and the promises and the rest done, it was not Kasaija who was in. It was who? Madame Maria. Kiwanuka. So we must also reach a point.
And Kasaija was in that ministry as a deputy.
No, we must also reach a point of putting distinction between individuals and the offices. Let me tell you this. Honorable Arupo is the Minister of Education.
That one, I know teachers, you don't want even to talk about it.
She's the Minister of Education. But we should also distinguish between the person of Arupo, who may not want this to be, and the Ministry of Education. Because the Minister of Education must do the right thing with or without Arupo. The government of the Republic of Uganda should do the right thing with or without President Museveni. That's why we insisted on dealing with the technical teams and dealing with the ministries of government.
Thank you very much for joining me on this news conversation.
Thank you.
For now, let us go in for a short commercial break. When we return, my colleague in Studio A will be proceeding